Tell everybody, everyone we know, we ain't got time for that today. 'Cause we got somewhere we're about to go. Big dreams that take us far away. Here we go, we're taking off, and we know we can't be stopped. Tell the stars we're coming up. Blow it up like gamma rays. Free ourselves from time and space. Count it down and fly away. Never dropping, never stopping. Always popping off like a rocket. Like a rocket. Never turn it down, turn it up till it's booming like a rocket. Like a rocket. Your troubles, take back control. We ain't got time for that today. Let's close our eyes and just hold our breath. Ain't nothing getting in our way. Here we go, we're taking off. We ain't ever gonna stop. Tell the stars we're coming up. Blow it up like gamma rays. Free ourselves from time and space. Count it down and never dropping, never stopping, always popping off like a rocket, like a rocket. Never turn it down, turn it up till it's booming like a rocket, like a rocket.
There was supposed to be transition music and that never happened. But welcome back to Canna Heads ND episode number 24, your once a week podcast for the latest in cannabis, local and national news, every Sunday at around 7:30 p.m. Typically we go for about an hour to hour and a half, just depending on the stories. We're trying to keep it light on the COVID stuff, but there's a couple COVID stories this time. Sorry. But I'm Phil.
I'm Anthony.
And yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. If you would like to support ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act or our cause in general, you can donate on the website. I forgot to put the Streamlabs link on there, but it is on the website. If you go to ndforfreedom.org or .com, either one, scroll all the way down. There'll be a donate box. But if you want to support um, without paying, you can also print out a petition. If you're, by yourself, you're not quarantining, but you're what is it? What is the term? Social.
Isolation or social distancing.
Yeah, social distancing. If you're social distancing and you have somebody else in your house, you guys can print out 2 petitions, sign each other's, and then once COVID just magically disappears, or before then, if you are stopping by at a bank, you can also get it notarized there, and you can mail it. It's fine with just one signature. Honestly, there's no minimum signature requirement on these packets. So if you get 1, if you get 4, if you get all of them, it doesn't matter. It's just as helpful to have one signature. I mean, it's a little bit more helpful if you have the full packet, but like it's kind of challenging, especially nowadays. But even before then, like I would have anxiety of overdoing it too. That's just me, though. I'm just kind of a anxiety person. But if you're wondering what is the ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act, we are a constitutional petition circulating in North Dakota that, if passed, would allow anyone over the age of 21 to possess, grow, and consume cannabis. So if you agree and would like to support the cause, feel free to reach out to us on the Facebook page that you're watching. We're also multi-streaming to YouTube, and we got a green bar now. So if you guys want to subscribe on the YouTube channel, that would be Canna-Talk ND.com. And also another fun little announcement. We're also on Spotify. We're on a bunch of other podcast platforms. We're working on Apple Podcasts, and also Google Play Music podcasts thing. I think we are already on there, but I think it's still in activation period or whatever. They give you a URL after they approve you, but the URL doesn't work for like a week. I don't know why, but that's a thing. But you can listen to KRFF Radio Free Fargo with Canna Talk ND with Greg Wilson to know a little bit more about that. We have a radio show on actual radio. This is a show on Facebook and YouTube, so on the internet. His is actually in like real life. I don't know. The internet to me is not real life. But we also have a special thing that's going on right now. Let's see. Okay, so we were gonna call Kimberly. Kimberly is actually driving around into the rural areas around her area for people to sign. So right now, I think the last update that we got, we were gonna call her and do an update, but I think her phone's dead. But right now she's in Wahpeton. So if you want to sign on the actual Facebook page when you go on there, let's just kind of do that. How about that? Okay, gonna do that. There we go. All right. So on the Facebook page here, she is at Wahpeton as of 44 minutes ago. So if you do want to sign, you can also drop a comment. She'll get in contact with you. We do follow the social distancing guidelines, pen sanitized. We are 6 feet away from you. We kind of just, I'm not exactly sure how she's doing it, but I'm guessing it's kind of what most people have been recommended to do, where you put it on a table, you sanitize it, you walk away 6 feet, and they walk up. Kind of like in jail or something, where they're like, when you go in, they lock a door behind you type of thing, and they controlled movements. Like that in real life. And I'm not, another thing is we recommend face masks, but we don't have like a set guideline for it. We heavily recommend it, but it's kind of up to the petitioner just because we have so many of them and we have some that are just like kind of just doing it on their own type of thing. And it's really hard to get in contact with those people and being like, hey, uh, even though you're kind of doing it on your own, you have to follow our thing. It's kind of difficult, so it's kind of more of just up to that person. Um, and we're not politicizing face masks either, uh, so we're not doing that. But we are recommending people to wear face masks. Is what I'm trying to say. But if you do like these shows, you can listen to RFF Radio Free Fargo, which is 95.9 on Thursdays from 4 to 5 p.m. with Greg Wilson. Um, Usually now that I got the workflow down, the next day is when a Canna Talk will go up on YouTube. But you can also get it the same day, usually. More than likely, it will be the same day on your podcast platform. So that's the reason why we're pushing a little bit more for the podcast, just because the videos, I mean, they take me about 4 hours to render, and I have a pretty strong computer to do that. And it used to be like 8 hours with my old computer, but I got a new computer on 420.
Don't flex on us too hard.
I know, right? But it's not I mean, yeah, it's a flex. Let's just say the stimulus check helped me get a new computer that I use for work, so it had an actual purpose.
Oh,
So
hey,
it's not
fun
like,
fact.
yeah,
So we file our taxes, and we don't do the direct deposit. So we're just, yeah, we don't really care. So it's just like, we'll wait for the check. Well, we were expecting a check to show up, right?
yeah.
And it never came, never came, never came. And then, was it Saturday? Yesterday? Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. We got a card in the mail.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
little
they
Star Spangled card.
yeah, they did that. That was the thing that they did. It's I filed I did the direct deposit, but I owed. So really what I did was I gave him permission to take money out. Apparently that permission is only to take money out and not to put money in, I guess, is what happened. So I got a Trump check. Actually, I think I have it like right here. I still have it. Not gonna pull a Trump or a yeah. So I got an actual like, you know, check in the
Well, for
mail.
some reason, I can't see you on Skype this time. So I got to wait
Oh,
for YouTube and Facebook to
oh
catch up
shit.
before I can see that Trump check.
I'm sorry, I have to turn that back on. I thought it is on. What?
I got nothing.
Let's see here. Oh, I suppose it would help if I turned on the webcam on Skype, but
Okay, there's a Trump check.
yeah, that's a Trump check.
And there it is. I
Yeah.
got Facebook and YouTube open over here.
Yeah, so it yeah, that's just what I did. But so Scott Matheson, when are the actual petitions due? I have a packet with about 1 page of signatures from Grand Forks area and was wondering when I need to get them turned in. You can do one of two things. I think I've met with you before, so if you send me a Facebook message, we can meet up. Otherwise, you can mail it to Jody's address, which is usually what I don't ever have in front of me, apparently. But Jody, if you want to grab Jody's address
Yep,
there, you can
I
mail it
will
to her
do that now.
directly. As far as when they're due, beginning of July is kind of what we're aiming for. We have until like the 16th or something like that, but we're trying to go in a little bit early just because what ends up happening is you submit and then they go through each of the signatures and they send out the verification postcards and they figure out who they're going to do that to. Um, so we kind of want to give them ample amount of time to verifying all of that and to getting that through. And like if there's any problems, like if there's a signature, we're going to obviously be overshooting for the signatures, but if there's any problem when it comes to like if we're short like 5 signatures or something like that, we would probably just run out and be like, "Hey, do you support us?" type of thing. When we do submit, it'll be like a a huge event type of thing. We're gonna like probably, honestly, I don't know if I will be going down there, but I probably will attempt to. It just depends on work. But we'll probably have like some sort of like hangout type of thing. So yeah, July 6th is kind of what we're aiming for. So yeah, that and we had posted up earlier about this as well. When it comes to kind of COVID and everything like that, we're first of all, we're not blaming COVID for all of the issues type of thing. But when it comes to COVID, it does kind of slow us down. It is very possible that we can do this. Um, we need to do some people need to like mail in their packets type of thing. We've been really pushing the actual packets. So if you do have a packet, even if you're thinking you're gonna sign some more, please try to mail it in, and we'll give you a second packet if you want, or you can also print one out on the website. But it is very helpful to us to know as far as stress aspect of it, to know kind of where we are. So please mail them in. Otherwise, you can mail it to Jody, which is 2108 Boston Drive. That's where you would mail it in, or that's in Bismarck, by the way. But if you also need help with getting it notarized or anything like that, finding a notary, just reach out to us on the Facebook page. We'll probably be able to help you. We do also have some notaries on the the group type of thing, and notaries that we also work with type of thing. We kind of have, it's not a network of notaries, but we do have people that we know that are notaries. So if you do need a notary, they do cost money if you don't have a bank account, but it's usually pretty cheap. But there's also traveling ones. If you don't have a notary around you, reach out to us. We'll try to find you the cheapest, just because some of them will charge you like miles that they drive and an obscene amount of price for those, like $20 a mile type of thing. So please reach out to us. We can find you at least a cheap one, as well as to possibly assist in getting that figured out. So, um, yeah, essentially that's all I have for the notary part. But we do also have businesses on the petition locator, ndforfreedom.com. You can hit the petition locator there, find a petitioner near you. There was a bug earlier that somebody let me know about. If you typed in a city, it isn't smart. It will, like, if you type in Bismarck, it'll be like, oh, did you mean Bismarck, California or something? I don't know which state, but it thought it was, but it would just get too many like California, Nebraska, and Florida, and then it would just kind of zoom you completely out, and it was like completely just a mess, and it wouldn't load North Dakota records. So it changed to zip code only, by the way, so it now says enter your zip code. You technically can type in a city, but it doesn't really work too well, so don't do that. But uh, COVID life, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. So let's kind of jump into some stories. Uh, this one has gotten a little bit of heat over time. This one came out about last week, I think. Yeah, 3 days ago is when this one came out. This was actually the first version of the story, and there's actually a very detailed story behind it. But the Care19 app, was apparently sharing data with Foursquare. It's the app is developed by North Dakota Department for the North Dakota Department of Health, not by them, but it was developed by a company named ProudCrowd, which has made apps for other kind of location tracking services. I'm not 100% sure exactly which ones they made, but basically it's a North Dakota company, I believe. Pretty sure it is. And they had made this app. Well, um, what the Care19's app is, it kind of tracks where you've been, and if you ever get sick or anything like that, it's a little bit easier for them to do the contact tracing. That's not to say that they couldn't already do that. If you carry around a phone, especially an Android phone, same thing with iOS as well. You can go and see exactly where you've been with that phone, and that data never expires. So you can see where you were in 2016. But it was intended to help health officials find uh, patients that could possibly have gotten in contact with you and could possibly transmitted the disease. But there is a company, a very weird company, by the way, called Jumbo, which is a privacy app that apparently I've never, first of all, never heard of the company, but second of all, they had a decision, they had a choice between multiple apps, and somehow they chose little old North Dakota. Uh, there's Google's made one, Apple's made one. That's not using location data, it's using Bluetooth data.
Didn't Apple and Google they actually did a joint thing, didn't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they did it together and like why North Dakota? But okay. Apparently they had clients in North Dakota or something like that. Either way, what they did in a technical way, basically they downloaded the app on the phone. They then monitored the internet traffic that goes between phone to router. They were able to capture that, which is very, very simple to do. And then they looked at the data that was being transmitted, and based on that, they found that uh, location or your anonymous location data that's anonymized. So another thing that they did big on here is you're given a random digit number, and then that random digit number is what stays on your phone and is what actually transmitted. So it's just kind of a way to figure out how many people you got into contact, not who you got into contact with. Well, apparently that has been going to Foursquare. Foursquare is a large data company. They kind of go on location-based services. So things like you've probably already, if you've gone to like a vape shop, a lot of them use Foursquare. But you get like this card if you're at the location, you tap it, and if you do it so many times, you get discounts at the place. You sometimes just get discounts for just having Foursquare. You can also let your friends know where you are, type of thing. But apparently, that anonymous location has been sent to Foursquare. Foursquare has responded and saying we do nothing with that data. It actually gets thrown away. I'm taking a wild guess in guessing the reason why this location data was sent to Foursquare, but I'm thinking it's probably an API call that was actually in the API that they used. So it was kind of a way for them to kind of work around the actual storage of the data. Um, so like they would send that data, but they would just capture that part of the data and then it would go somewhere else. But it does end up going to Foursquare. I'm not sure why, but they said that they don't do anything with the data. Um, so according to the developer, so Proud Crowd, the Care19 application user interface clearly calls out the usage of Foursquare on our nearby places screen. Per the terms of our Foursquare agreement, we will be working with our state partners to be more explicit in our privacy policy. This is where the problem was. They said that, and I remember this because it was a huge thing when they announced this app. There was like government tracking question mark. Um, so the guy came out and said everything is stored on your phone. They said that everything stays on your phone. It doesn't transmit anywhere. That was the statement. That was obviously wrong per their privacy policy already. And in there, they also stated that it only goes to their servers. Well, on top of that, their servers hosting for where they actually store the log is called Bugfender, which provides logging services as well as storage and S3 bucket storage for apps. So the less technical form of this is where they stored the data that they were using for contact tracing was stored by another company that wasn't them. There wasn't their servers, so it stayed on somebody else's servers, but they're a server hosting company, so they don't really go into their clients' data. So that's kind of why everybody's kind of in arms about it. But the weird thing about this, and this might just be me, but I went on Foursquare's website and I found this. So this is basically talking about people's behaviors and basically what they're doing. They detail the foot traffic patterns we've seen to date across major consumer categories using our location data. Our location data is kind of this might be just me freaking out, but this came out on April 1st. So, I mean, it's not, the app has been in existence before April 1st, I believe. It wasn't like super pushed out, but they're kind of out here admitting, hey, we've done something with a set of data, not this set of data. So I'm definitely prefacing that, but this is weird, especially since they talk about Midwest, urban areas. It's a
Well,
little
once the
weird.
data, like once the app reaches out and makes contact with Foursquare, that becomes their data.
Yeah.
So,
But
I mean, they could really be taking any aggregated data
yeah.
that they get and calling it theirs.
So their privacy policy now says your location data is private to you and is stored securely on Cloud LLC servers. Third parties that we use, Foursquare, Google Firebase, and Bugfender, may have temporary access to aspects of your data for your specific data processing tasks. However, they do not collect this data in a form that allows themselves or others to access or otherwise use the data. So they're kind of being like, hey, yeah, it does go there, but they can't do anything with it. They're not legally allowed. So the thing that really stepped out to me was the emails that they had sent out. And this one is to Foursquare. They're talking about they have latitude and longitude of the geolocation data, along with a user ID, which is the anonymous user ID. So that's not so worrying. The thing that was worrying was to Bugfender, which is an app logging company. So they're not really like, they're more of just trying to figure out if there's any bugs in the app for the developer to find out about. So it's more of just like a debugging thing. In the technical term, it would be called debugging. So this is what they seem to have found, is the phone's name, which if you have an iPhone, like I do now, unfortunately, your iPhone's name defaults to your first name and then iPhone. Device ID and a citizen ID. So this is a little worrying. Citizen ID is not like your actual driver's license ID, I don't think, but it's like two different device IDs would be like what your phone to the app serial number, and then citizen ID would be actually the number that's generated by the app. But just for people to know, basically. They also reached out to ProudCrowd. They had kind of explained everything, what they found, and this is kind of what the response was. So it's a little crazy, but there's no use in reinventing the wheel when there are perfectly good wheels out there. Foursquare makes a map. They are a mapping company. They log data, but their main asset is US maps with very accurate location data. So if new businesses come in, it doesn't just show as a blank. There's that. So that's probably the reason why that data was actually imported and why it might be exported based on whatever rules that they have for their programming language. Firebase is kind of a skeleton of an app that you can put in your own uses and you can put in your own methods and programming, but it basically has like the skeleton of what an app should have. So you can quickly program it, and that's kind of what this was. This was very quickly programmed, in my opinion, probably, because it came out. We were talking about contact tracing the next day. The app drops on Google Maps and iOS, or iOS took a while on Google, and then it came back onto iOS. So it's yeah, it's worrying, but at the same time, it's a pandemic. It's kind of helpful to know where you've been and how many people you could have gotten into contact with. So it's not like I'm saying, hey, this is like delete this app type of thing. That's up to you. Essentially, it's up to you. But I I saw the app and I was like, okay, I'll use it for a little bit, and then just kind of noticed that my battery was draining too fast, so I just kind of deleted it. I don't really travel too far. Honestly, the furthest place I travel is Hugo's. So yeah, I know if they can look at how many people went to Hugo's at that time, then they know how many people I could have possibly been in contact with, but face mask. So I should be fine. um, so yeah, that was the light story.
Oh boy.
I don't know. Have you used the app?
No.
No?
No. And it's not like I haven't for any particular reason. I just keep forgetting that it exists, you know?
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind Stutsman County is one of the least worrisome counties going on at the moment. But on the same token, that's probably a better reason to be using something like that.
Yeah. I don't know, last 3 days, and this might be just from testing availability. Last 3 days we've been on a downturn. We did go a little bit up on yesterday, but we've been kind of on the downhill slope, but we've been on multiple downhill slopes. But I'm glad that we recovered from the 126th or 106, somewhere between there, cases in one day. So I'm glad that we kind of slowed down on that.
Was that just Grand Forks?
No, that was entire North Dakota.
Oh yeah. Oh dude,
Actually, I just pull up.
We've been hitting some pretty wild numbers lately.
Have we? I don't know. Like, I think the state reopened type of thing. It's not really reopening. It's kind of whatever everybody is wanting to do. There's a lot of businesses that are staying closed. But yeah, so this was 133. Actually, I got that wrong. So this was the alarming thing. 62, 102, 133. But now we're starting to go on the downhill slope. But we did kind of go up from 49 to 54. But
We're and this is what I've been trying to explain to people is it came in on the coast and it takes time to work its way. I mean, like for continent wise, we're pretty much in the center of the continent. It's going to take time to get to us. That uphill trend that you see, that's not going to go down for quite some time.
yeah, well, this is a collective based on total cases even recovered. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can see this upward trend right here.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that it's kind of evening off, but that also I think has to do with testing availability, and a possible backlog. I think there was a story out there that just a huge backlog of cases.
Well, everybody has their point of view and their opinion and whatever. You know, the biggest thing is just to remember that it's like it is what it is, and 99.9% of us are not scientists or have any involvement in the field, any involvement with virology, you know?
Yeah. We'll actually be talking about some people who believe that they're real scientists that have a lot of really good interests to heart. Not really. So yeah, I don't know. There's this story, I kind of found it interesting. San Francisco is giving methadone, alcohol, cannabis to homeless or people who are homeless that are isolating in hotels. So they said that San Francisco's health department confirmed Wednesday so it's like last week, Wednesday, that the city was administering alcohol, tobacco, and medical cannabis and other substances in an effort to prevent a handful of quarantined people, or isolating the city from going outside to get the substances themselves, as well as the alcohol thing. If you're addicted to alcohol, the withdrawal could possibly cause more health problems because it could possibly cause a seizure. So they're kind of doing that as well. But the city has rented hotels that have been reserved for people who either have COVID or at a heightened risk of catching it, and who have no space of their own to safely self-isolate or quarantine. So it's not like they're just scooping up every single homeless person off the streets, unfortunately. But uh, they are doing it for the people who are at risk. And some of the individuals have substance abuse issues, and they were already on a methadone regimen. And a lot of people who are on methadone, they have to go through, like, I think it's 3 months, depending on where you go, I guess. But first 3 months you have to go to the actual facility to get a methadone dose. And I think it's twice a day, or depending on what you're like given, but um, you have to go there. I think they're kind of fixing that by going out there for them and getting it for them, which is pretty helpful because opiate withdrawal, while it's not super deadly, it does kind of suck, and could possibly cause flu-like symptoms, which would be very, very hard to distinguish between
Yeah.
COVID symptoms. So yeah, you also lose your sense of smell with uh, opiate withdrawal, so it could totally look like COVID. um, but it's all part of a widely used harm reduction approach. And this is the thing that I really didn't like about this story is, like, cannabis to some addicts. I don't know a single person. I know some people that are in rehab from court that are classified as addicts, but I don't know too many people that, like, are actually, like, if they don't smoke, they, like, feel like shit. I think the most that I've ever felt of withdrawal would be just being bored, honestly. But yeah, they're kind of lumping this all together, but whatever. Yeah, I wish they would have done it differently, but at the same time, they're also helping people get medicine that need it. Essentially, is kind of what that is. So there's around 270 people in these hotel rooms that are in self-isolation or quarantine periods, most of whom were homeless. No taxpayer money was being used to administer the substances to hotel guests. It was by private donation. So it's kind of nice of methadone clinics and liquor stores, I guess, and I don't know, tobacco companies. I don't really know where. I guess smoke shops, possibly.
Right. Well, whoever put in, thanks for not being a dick. Appreciate it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, that's one of the biggest things is for people who have to isolate or anything like that. Because I've had a scare or two, when you realize that, hey, I have to self-isolate and quarantine, like, not socially distance. You can't leave your house at that exact moment, but you realize that there's a possible risk. How hard it becomes of being like, oh, well, what the fuck am I gonna do for food? What am I gonna do well, for me, I'm a smoker, cigarettes. How am I gonna get this figured out? Like, I don't know anybody who would. Well, I do know some people, but now I have to ask friends, being like, "Hey, I need you to go get me this, and I'll give you cash." And you have to. Cash App is kind of what I would use, but you have to come over to my house, leave it in front of my door for me to grab it, it it turns into this huge thing. So I'm really glad that for people who don't have that kind of a network, support network, I think is what people would call it, for people who don't have that, or for people just in general that, you know, they they don't know what to do type of thing. Um, I'm glad that there's at least a system in place for,
Hmm.
yeah. But um, yeah, there's also, oh, I should probably have gone back to this thing. Um, Sorry, it's beeping. All right, so
You're beeping.
it actually might have beeped in the stream. I don't know. It just depends on if my compressor's working correctly. So there was a huge, and when I say huge, I mean quite literally huge. I think you counted it at 170 pages.
220. It was
Oh,
220 or 222.
yeah, 222 page bill. Um, this was
Ooh,
a
can I
few
see
weeks
that?
ago, but 222 pages. That was with support that was introduced into the yeah, wow, can't talk. House of Representatives in Minnesota. They had support of 33 co-sponsors, and there's a lot to it. I think I might have it. I can't find a link to it. This one. I think you had sent me a link.
Are you talking about the house link?
Yeah.
It's in the docket.
What is it?
It's right
Oh,
next to the
it's right
33
there.
co-sponsors. Yeah.
Sure. All right.
Still love you, boo boo.
I was like, oh, I need to open up Discord really quick. Let's see. There it is. There's the bill. Top of page 799.7. What?
What?
I wonder if this is on. Yeah, this is on top. Oh, this is the
I
introduction.
told you.
Journal of the House. That's what it is. Okay, this is just
This
kind of what's going
legislation
on in
is
the House.
ridiculous. How they type things, word things, whatever. It's absurd.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Like this was by a different organization in Minnesota. This was the Minnesotans for Responsible Marijuana Regulation. There's also another one that's called Legalize It MN, which is run by a guy named Marcus Harkis. Um, we might actually, if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, it's probably going to happen. But uh, in the comment, if you guys want to have a video of an interview with him, what he's doing in Minnesota is instead of passing a bill, he is advocating for the passage of a bill through House and through Senate for basically legalizing, but he's kind of saying like, hey, I don't know anything about legislation or anything like that. Kind of like, I guess it depends, but like constitutional, it's a little bit more easy. I mean, we're not legislators. We don't know. We're not lawyers. We do have lawyers on our team, but we're not lawyers, so we're not like fully versed in everything that comes into a law, but like say a statutory law, we don't know absolutely every single specific thing that would have to go into a bill and what it all affects and how it all affects everything and what loopholes need to be closed. Whereas a constitutional, that's kind of short, simple. That's kind of what we are. Anyone over 21, um, 12 plants, 6 of them adult at a time, and businesses requiring licensing. So ours is short and simple, and we're just kind of telling them like this is what North Dakota wants, and if we pass, and that's kind of what we're doing. What he's doing is he's kind of doing the same thing, but rather than having it voted in, he's letting other people make the decisions as far as what all what loopholes need to be closed, but what Minnesota is also looking for, and he also advocates for, I think, medicinal patients as well. But he's a pretty cool guy, and yeah, we might. I don't know. I reached out to him like a month ago. So But what this one does in Minnesota is to possess and transport up to 1.5 ounces of plant material and 8 ounces of concentrates in public places. Are you sure it's 8 ounces? It wasn't grams. I thought it was
Did I put
grams.
ounces?
Yeah, I think it's grams.
Yeah, I did.
8 ounces of concentrates. Holy shit,
Jesus
that would be
Christ.
awesome. No, 8 grams of
I
concentrates.
don't know what your definition of awesome is. Numb, no
Okay,
longer present.
I mean, I'm not saying do it all in one go. I'm just saying you have 8 ounces. You're pretty good for. God, I don't even know how long you'd be good for on that. 8 ounces. A year? What? 8 ounces is, let's see.
Shit. 16? Or that's a pound.
Okay, so you have 224 grams. So, I mean, I guess if you smoke a gram a day, you're good for almost a year. And,
Jesus.
I mean, a gram is a lot in a day. I guess I don't know. I've had it once, but I've never like known much. Like my buddy was just like, "Here, you want to try a dab?" And so I did. And I did not enjoy that experience, so I decided to not ever do it again. But I can definitely understand the um, kind of like the good of concentrates, the positives of concentrates. But 8 grams of concentrates, which is actually kind of a lot, but 1.5 ounces of plant material, that's in public places. Keep up to 10 pounds at your private residence. You can grow 8 plants at home, 4 of which may be flowering. So you're going to be reaching that 10 pound limit, according to some lawmakers in North Dakota. You know, all 8 of your plants will make 10 pounds. Don't worry about it. There's no science behind that. But apparently, if you ask some lawmakers in North Dakota, that's what they think. But yeah, 10 pounds is a lot, especially if you're growing at 4 plants at a time, basically. Um, it kind of, I don't think anybody's planning on storing 10 pounds in their house, but I think it's more of a where they kind of make a um, agreement to lower that if they keep other things.
Yeah.
So, uh, what's it called? Wow, why am I blanking on words today? I think that's always though for me. I'm pretty sure I'm always blanking on words. But you can also gift small amounts to adults. Um, and that kind of has a little bit more specific to it. We'll probably do a little bit more of a breakdown of it later. But yeah, I don't know. Like they also have framework for commercial cannabis industry, so to be established in Minnesota, which I think would be really nice. We were going to do a story, or we were going to do a breakdown of a episode of Patriot Act last week, or from actually Sunday, from today, and there's a little bit of an issue there as far as when it comes to commercial cannabis industry. There's kind of a North Dakota story that happened with it. We were going to talk about that today, but I kind of need to like sit down and cut it up because I'm not streaming an entire episode of Patriot Act copyrighted content. I don't have enough commentary to do that with, so I'm going to
Hmm.
actually cut up the actual parts that I want to commentate over. But yeah, so basically it sets up a regulatory framework for that in Minnesota, hopefully allowing possible um, either limiting it to in-state or limiting the laws regarding um, if a company needs to be fully flush with top-down services, is I guess what's called, where so in a top-down service you are the owner of a grow op, processing facility, a testing facility, a retail facility, and I think in some states a medical facility as well. So you have to have all of that before you can get a license to do any of this. Um, so hopefully they don't have that. But what ends up happening with that, and the reason why that's bad, by the way, is you get large companies kind of having a shitload of money, and basically that's the reason why there's, a couple of grow ops in North Dakota. Some of them owned by out-of-state companies, which is not a bad thing, but it's not a good company. But labeling, packaging, and testing requirements as well for cannabis products, dosage sizes would be restricted, among other regulations. So I guess you can say goodbye to your 300-time brownie. Dude, I don't know if I've told this on stream before, but I this was in California, but my buddy got like I think it was a 25 or 30 time brownie, and it was just a small little brownie. So I was just like, oh well, I have a high tolerance, so I'm going to have because you're told to do like an eighth, but I was like, you know what, I have a high tolerance, I'm going to do a quarter. Um, and I actually specifically remember the story because both me and my ex-girlfriend at the time, or my girlfriend at the time, she's my ex now, we each had, so we split the half, um, and we were pretty fucking stoned. We decided to go to a Chinese place. So we go to a Chinese place, which just apparently so happened to be right next to her dad's work,
Oh.
and her dad decided that Chinese was the day, today was the day that he was going to eat Chinese. So we ran into him, um, where we were like sitting outside. We kind of like, she was just like, oh shit, that's my dad. I'm like, whatever. And so we were sitting there and like kind of just being like, I hope he doesn't notice. I hope he doesn't notice. And then we hear the name called out, and I'm like, oh shit. So he comes over, literally takes like one look at us, says one sentence, like to start a conversation, looks at us and is just like, I'm disappointed in you guys. Just walks off. So the funny part was, so they were split up, like her mom and her dad were divorced. Uh, they don't talk to each other, but apparently he decided that this was the type of news that he was going to break that silence and talk to her mom. So, yeah, a little crazy. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, those sizes being restricted, I mean, that's not a terrible thing, but at the same time, I've always wondered what is somebody doing with a brownie that has like 20 doses in it. I'm not going to eat a crumb of brownie. I'm going to eat the fucking thing. I'm
Yeah.
having a brownie. I'm eating the brownie. So I've never understood why they needed to be super hard. Like, I know you're trying to hide the taste or not wanting to smoke, but
Well, not to mention when it's broken down by your liver, it produces a different chemical as well, which is significantly stronger than just THC itself.
yeah, and I remember
So,
that it took like, I think it was like an hour, hour and a half before it kicked in. And I'm not gonna lie, I had that moment where I was just like, ooh, should I have another piece? 'Cause apparently it's not hitting. That's a very, very bad thing to think. Don't. If you ever think, I ate an edible, I don't feel anything, maybe I should have another piece. Nope. Just wait.
yep.
I mean, if it's been like 4 hours or something like that and you haven't felt anything, okay, but like, if it's only been like hour to 2 hours, don't. Bad idea. But I don't know. So, here's a story, and um, this is where things get stupid. So a federal judge ruled that a state must allow petition signatures to be gathered electronically due to the pandemic. And you might be wondering, why is that stupid? So
Why, Bill? Is that stupid?
So this is a federal court, so United States of America, deciding if the Constitution in a state is able to be upheld. But before making that decision, has actually just come out and said, this is the result of me overturning that chapter of your state's petition. They also did push it back to July 31st, so that's good. Secretary of State plans to appeal the decision. And this is also where it gets even stupider. So this was passed by the, he was a campaign manager for Ohioans for secure and fair elections, which was pursuing a package for voting law changes. So that's kind of like what the actual input was. But they need to collect roughly 443,000 signatures by now, July 31st, through an online system, and this is a quote, that has never been used before, so it's completely untested method. So as a campaign, we're trying to look at if we will still have a barrier to access in November. So what this means is they decided we're going to try to get online signatures. And somebody said, yes, we are going to do that. And so without even thinking of what they're going to do and how they're going to activate this idea, was like, let's sue them.
Zero game plan.
Yeah. Like, I am very happy that they have the ability to do online signatures. That is a very good thing, especially in this type of a situation. I am very happy that they, I guess, decided to file a suit in federal court, which is a little weird because, like, the state constitution that states the petition requirements for constitutional changes. I don't know if it's the same thing with their like century or statutory law, but as far as, and I'm sure it probably is, but as far as that decision and that part, they're talking about the Ohio Constitution. They're not talking about the federal Constitution, which the argument can be made that federal Constitution can trump state. But when we look at medicinal marijuana, for instance, when it first started, that has been proven wrong. There's a lot of case law that states both ways. It's kind of iffy at this point. So, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they did. Maybe they might go with what Michigan was thinking with Verisign. But I mean, if they're thinking 443,000 signatures is going to be tough for them to get, if they have figured out the infrastructure. This happened last week, I believe. Oh, this happened this week, actually. So they probably will figure something out this week. Or, well, they're probably figuring out something like beginning of this next week. But if they do, I mean, 443,000 signatures, while it's not going to be super easy, but you still have the ability to also, you also have the ability to run advertisements. You can put that signature link in front of every single person's face in Ohio for not that much money. North Dakota, it would cost, I think when I estimated, it would cost about 10 grand for everybody in North Dakota to see that link. So everybody in North Dakota would involve multiple views as well, Google and Facebook.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's actually, I mean, honestly, out of state, like getting the entire US is really hard. But if you think about it, you're basically paying about 10 cents a person per view. So it's actually pretty surprisingly really cheap. And it's also really nice for us because when we do like these live streams or stuff like that on Facebook, we do have it basically anybody in the US can see it, but when it comes to keywords and how everything is set up on like YouTube, for instance, it's set up to basically be more visible in North Dakota than other states. And the reason why that is because the things that we're talking about is really only about North Dakota. We do have people from out of state that support us, and that's great and all, but they also can't sign. And they're helpful for voter outreach and stuff like that if they have family in the state, but it's a lot easier to target a specific state or a specific location than it is to go the entire US. So, I mean, they might be able to get 443,000. I think it also depends on how much money they have, but if they're talking about, a secure and fair elections, I mean, it's probably a little bit more challenging because then I mean, I'm not saying all campaigns are sketchy, but they probably have to be a little bit more stringent with their funding. They don't have to blazo it, but you know, yeah. So, um, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I'm really surprised that a federal court decided state constitution, but I guess they just went for the big guns. They just thought, I think they probably went through a process and like Ohio State rejected it, and so they appealed that rejection to go to federal. But yeah, it's kind of a little crazy, but I'm glad that they actually were able to do that, and it's great, but I hope they figure out a system real soon. Um, oh, they have the federal order here. Um, uh, TRO, 3 motions for a preliminary injunction filed. The court held several conferences. They did not need any hearings. They just wanted decision. So they didn't even have much of hearing. I guess they had non-contested affidavits. Huh. That is interesting. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to kind of keep an eye out. And this one, I'm sure almost everybody's seen this headline. Canadian study found some CBD strains that could lower chances of COVID, but more research is needed. Okay, so the more research is needed should be a way bigger font than is actually said here. When they say more research is needed, they mean that they literally haven't proven much of anything. So this is the actual study. So the researchers, so as you can see right up here, these researchers work for all of these. They have different companies, but they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So all 6 of them work for a company called Pathway Research and also Swish Inc. Pathway Research is a CBD research company, so that makes sense. Swish is a CBD production. They make hemp for CBD extraction for research purposes. So they have 13 strains that, surprise, surprise, are that are their property and is what's the word I'm looking for? Proprietary to them. That showed promising results. The cannabis extracts were able to lower the expression of a gene in human cells that created a protein which COVID-19 would lash onto. Long story short, this would lower the inflammation, I guess, in a cell level, so it wouldn't allow the COVID-19 to attach. I'm trying my best to explain it, but basically there's also a lot of really weird conversations here. See sativa extracts using artificial 3D models of oral, airway, and intestinal tissues. We identified 13 high CBD sativa extracts that modulate ACE2, which is the thing that makes the inflammation. So they, first of all, they didn't. This isn't a human trial. Artificial human 3D models of oral airway and intestinal tissues. So they just did a computer animation. And so basically they had a model of human tissue that is like, their, what was it? The oral, mouth, the airway, so like the thing that's in the neck. That's where air goes, by the way. No, and intestinal tissues.
The air tube.
Yeah, the air tube. So basically they used a computer model of human tissue and noted that it lowers inflammation, making it harder for COVID to attach to the cells because they're less likely to be changed by the virus's DNA. It's kind of the cliff notes that I got out of the comments in the section of this website that has the actual study. So, let me pull that up. Here we go. This is the comment section of this I don't know, biology website of studies. I've never seen this one before, but basically they tested it between CBD and the ACE2 receptor, which helps with the inflammation aspect of it, and they found that because CBD protects the cell, that if COVID-19 were to attach, it wouldn't be able to inject its code, which is, I guess, what a virus is. So a virus, I guess, is our DNA or something. I feel like we're computers if that's the case. Are we computers?
We should be.
We have like CPUs. I don't know, man.
I mean, what is a brain but a squishy CPU?
Pretty much. So this was the first stage of the study. It has not been peer reviewed, which means nobody has read this and said, let's test the theory that you've made out. It's waiting to be peer reviewed. It was just kind of thrown out there as a possibility. It has virtual data about the mechanism. It's also sponsored by a CBD company. I don't know. Seems fishy to me. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean, okay. We're still on CBD, right?
Huh?
We're still doing this, the CBD.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, like again, I'm bouncing between screens here,
No.
and one is like super delayed. They did it entirely off of modeling.
Yep.
How is this even news?
That's the thing that I found really funny. Like, side rant. Why do we need to find more? Like, okay, I get, finding the medicinal uses for cannabis, but why do we have to throw cannabis at everything?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we would be doing this if we weren't all for cannabis, but it's like it degrades the value of what we're trying to do. Yep. By putting it into everything. It has to have a purpose or a use for everything.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying, man.
We have some opposition will just basically be like, look, they're potheads, they're just trying to fix whatever problem, like they think everything will be solved by cannabis. So they obviously, that kind of discounts the person making the argument, and that's kind of a way that people can have, a cognitive dissonance towards the issue. I don't know what I will do. I will do something crazy. If it comes out that CBD cures COVID, I don't know what I will do.
I'll scream.
Yeah, I don't know. I will chug 3 energy drinks and do a stream. How about that? I don't know. I'll get very, very fucking hyper and talk about cannabis. Whatever. Still, like, it might help symptoms of COVID. First of all, I'm talking not smoking it, but it can help with, if I'm not sure exactly, but I'm sure some people, get uh, nausea, sleeping issues. It can help with the symptoms. It can be a supportive medicine, I think is what it's called in the medical field. It can be a supportive medicine, but it doesn't have to be a cure. Like, first of all, the fact that it like lowers inflammation is absolutely not news to anybody. Like at all.
Yep.
This has been proven time and time again. Why did we just throw COVID-19 into the mix and say that it's gonna I think they're trying to say it protects you from it, could lower your chances of COVID. So
But
they say, oh, go ahead.
do you really want your name on that though? Like to be the one saying like, yeah, this will totally help you out, blah blah blah. People go flooding to a store and down a couple bottles of CBD and then they get COVID anyway.
Right, yeah, and that's also another thing is what company is gonna go out there and be like, this right here is the cure to COVID-19, and I'm going to put my name on it and my reputation on it, and I better go get some lawyers because this shit's about to go bad. Like, if even if this gets proven, first of all, if this gets proven right, by the time that they make a marketable product, it's going to be done. I mean, we're supposed to have a uh, uh, immunization, vaccine. That's the one. A vaccine by like November or possibly like beginning of next year. So you guys got 7 months, not even less than 7 months. You got 6 months to come up with a marketable product, a tested product. You got to finish the study first of all. Then you got to test the product. Then you have to, I'm sure there's some FDA recommendations or requirements as far as, the purity and everything like that. You also have to trademark and copyright your crazy 13 strains that are proprietary to your company. And then you have to get it distributed. You have to get it manufactured, then distributed, then sent out and done like marketing and advertising for it in less than 7 months. I don't know. I'm not saying like, hey, this isn't going to be helpful for possible future COVID, but like, yeah, I just don't understand it. But I mean, so their explanation is it's transmitted through respiratory, so COVID is transmitted through respiratory droplets with potential for aerosol and contact spread. It uses receptor mediated entry into the human host via ACE2 that is expressed in lung tissue. So I think what I'm understanding here, not 100% sure, but COVID uses ACE2 to enter the lung, as well as oral and nasal mucus, kidneys, testes, and gastrointestinal tract. So, messing with the ACE2 levels of those things in your body could prove a plausible strategy for decreasing disease yeah, possibility.
Susceptibility.
Yeah, susceptibility. I don't. Why can't I talk today?
Susceptibility.
That's the one.
The word that means the stuff.
Yeah, possibility is what I'm going with. So having high anti-inflammatory cannabinoid has proposed to modulate gene expression and inflammation and harbor anti-cancer and anti-inflammatory properties. that's kind of what they go with. So yeah, I don't know. Can we not try to cure like the world with cannabis?
Right? Like it's an amazing plant. It really is.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not gonna, and this is gonna sound really callous, but you're not gonna rub a lump on your arm that's cancerous and it's gonna go away with a plant. Like it doesn't fix everything.
I mean, okay. How about this? Can we make a deal with every single other person in the entire world that wants legalized cannabis? Can we wait till it's legalized in the entire country before we come up with these really crazy ideas? Because then it's going to be a little bit easier for that to get. I mean, CBD is legal in, well, depends on who you ask, but all the states in the U.S. Uh, South Dakota apparently thinks different, but whatever. Um, eh, can we figure out that before we suggest cannabis as the end all medicine for everything? I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. No, I feel you, man.
Kind of cheapens the entire.
That's it. That's what I was
Yeah,
looking for earlier.
cheapens the
It
brand.
devalues.
Yeah, it devalues. Yep, exactly. It devalues the brand. Not the brand, but the use cases. So, yeah, that's all we have. So if you guys like this video, make sure to share it. Also check us out on YouTube at Canna-Talk ND, which you can just go directly to by typing in cannatalknd.com. If you like this show and you want more, make sure to check out Canna Talk with Wilson on 95.9 Radio Free Fargo every Thursday from 4 to 5 p.m. And if you're not in the Fargo Moorhead area, if you subscribe on Spotify right now, you would get it the same day after it gets. It probably, depending on, I guess, when I'm working, but it would probably get posted up at like 8. Um, and they go for an hour long, 4 to 5. But it gets condensed down without the music because copyright laws are a thing. So it goes for about half an hour usually. But yeah, so if you're not in the Fargo Moorhead area, you can tune in on the website radiofreefargo.org. They also have a like an archive thing that they started 2 weeks ago. So you can also listen on the archive thingy, but you can also watch the YouTube video or the podcast link. You can also get more information about us on ndforfreedom.com, which includes getting a copy of the petition and finding a petitioner near you. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask them to the page ND for Freedom of Cannabis Act on Facebook, or you can email us directly on ndforfreedom.com by hitting the contact us page up on top there. But my name is Phil,
I'm Anthony.
and this has been Canna Heads, and we will see you guys next week on Sunday at 7:30 p.m.
Bye bye, peoples.
Bye.